Hey Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Chick Hicks! On his talk show, Chick's Picks with Chick Hicks, he predicted Joey Logierno, the mean yellow and red car, to win the Piston Cup. This would lead Piston Cup fans to boo the mean green car. And Joey Logierno would wreck cars in practice. And then he would flip Phil Tankson. Why? But Andrew Axler is here to take part in qualifying for Phil Tankson. And then right after qualifying, Andrew Axler would crash. Let's see if Andrew Axler's time was fast enough to get Phil Tankson to qualify. Denny Carlin would start at pole position with Joey Logierno to his outside. Kyle Buschtire would start on the inside of row 2 with the Rocket Ryan Newcar to his outside. Row 3 has Brick Yardley and Cal Weathers, the defending champion. And in row 4 is Carl Edwards and Bad Brad Keselowski. Hopefully he does not help Joey Logierno wreck cars. Row 5 is Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Lightning McQueen in search of his 7th Piston Cup. Row 6 has Martin Carx Jr. and Phil Tankson. Andrew Axler did a good job in qualifying then. Row 7 has Kevin Harvick and Eric Carmarola to his outside. Now, on to row 8, which has Ricky Speedhouse Jr. and Kurt Buschtire, who missed the first 3 races of the season. Row 9 has Jimmy Cables and Casey Corner to his outside. I wonder if they'll do anything. Row 10 has Matt Karzith, who missed 2 races because he wrecked Joey Logierno and Brick Hicks in his final Piston Cup race. Row 11 has Greg People, who's been having a bad season, and Jamie McCarry, who's outside. Row 12 has Kyle Carson and Clint Bokar, who is also having a bad season this season. Row 13 has Bobby Swift and Todd Marcus. I wonder if they'll do anything this race. Row 14 has the Garrison Racing teammates Sebastian Silva and Jamarcus Cakart. Both are having good seasons this season. Same with James Garrison, starting on the inside of row 15 and Rex Reveler to his outside. Row 16 has Jack DePost and TG Castlenut, who once nearly won a Piston Cup. Row 17 has Maury Clutchburn, who is in his 31st consecutive season finale, and Billy Carjoy to his outside, who got his first win this season. Row 18 has Darren Ledfoot, who always does good at this track, and Cal Williams to his outside. Row 19 has Alex Blowman and Ernie Gearson to his outside. Row 20 has Tony Gassert, who is having his worst Piston Cup season, and Pitbull Speed Racer to his outside. Row 21 has Chip Gearings and Arthur Carstro in his first season finale. And starting in 43rd is Reb Meeker, who somehow qualified ahead of these 7 cars, among many others who failed to qualify for this race. Now into the race, where Denny Carlin would lead the first lap, and then he would lose the lead to Joey Logierno, who would lead until lap 19, before he'd lose the lead to Kyle Buschtire, who would lead all the way until lap 31, where he would be pushed by Phil Tankson. Phil Tankson pushing Kyle Buschtire on lap 31 would allow Lightning McQueen to take the lead and lead until lap 36, where Brick Yardley would take the lead from him, and then lead for 8 laps until lap 44, where James Garrison would take the lead off of pit cycles. But on lap 45, Clint Bokar would be out because of a hard crash. And then Kevin Harvick would take the lead after the restart on lap 46 and lead all the way until lap 90, where Kyle Carson would take the lead from him. He would lead for 2 laps before Joey Logierno would take the lead and lead all the way until lap 138, where he would be pushed by Jamarcus Cakart on lap 138. And then Jamarcus Cakart would take the lead for himself, leading the field into the next lap. But later in lap 139, Kyle Buschtire would retake the lead. He would lead for just 1 lap before Carl Edwards would take the lead for himself, leading the field all the way until lap 144, where Joey Logierno would take the lead for himself once again, leading until lap 151, where Ernie Gearson would be out because of engine failure. But on his way to the garage, he would block Joey Logierno from getting to his pit stall. Hooray! Carl Edwards would take the lead after the restart and lead for 2 laps before Kyle Buschtire would take the lead once again, leading all the way until lap 165, where James Garrison would push the mean yellow car. And then James Garrison would take the lead for himself and lead all the way until lap 169, where he would lose the lead to Martin Carx Jr., who would lead until lap 172. On lap 172, Brad Keselowski would take the lead, leading all the way until lap 214. In the meanwhile, Joey Logano would be 5th as of lap 210, where he wrecks Dale Earnhardt Jr., Eric Carmarola, and Jack DePost. Why, you mean yellow and red car? Kyle Busch Tire, the mean yellow car, would take the lead on lap 214. And 2 laps later, Brad Keselowski would be 2nd as of lap 216, where he wrecked Kyle Busch Tire, who is now out. Brad Keselowski would take the lead after the restart and lead all the way until lap 258, where Lightning McQueen would take the lead from him, leading until lap 273, where Cal Weathers would take the lead from him. He would lead until lap 285, but 1 lap earlier, Maury Clutchburn would be out because of engine failure. On lap 285, Lightning McQueen would retake the lead and lead the field for the next 14 laps before Bobby Swift would take the lead for himself, leading for 2 laps before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading the field all the way until lap 307, where Darren Ledfoot would take the lead for himself and lead all the way until lap 361. In the meanwhile, Cal Williams, Pitbull Speed Racer, Brick Hicks, T.G. Castlenut, Sebastian Silva, Reb Meeker, Chip Gearings, Rex Revler, Tony Gasworth, and Alex Bloman would all go down 1 lap, and T.G. Castlenut would go down a 2nd lap. On lap 361, Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 372. In the meanwhile, Cal Williams would get back on the lead lap. Same with Brick Hicks, both on lap 362. And then, on lap 368, Reb Meeker would get back on the lead lap. And then, on lap 372, Kevin Harvick would retake the lead, leading for 2 laps before Sebastian Silva would get back on the lead lap on lap 374. At the same time, Phil Tankson would take the lead and lead for 2 laps before Arthur Castro would pass him and take the lead for himself on lap 375. T.G. Castlenut would also get 1 of his laps back on lap 375. Pitbull Speed Racer would also get back on the lead lap on lap 375. Same with Rex Revler, who would get back on the lead lap. Bobby Swift would take the lead on lap 375 and lead for 3 laps before Joey Logano would fail to wreck Jamarcus Cakart on lap 378. Phil Tankson would be 7th as of lap 378, where he wrecks Joey Logano, the mean yellow and red car. And Piston Cup fans would cheer, hooray to Phil Tankson, and then Chick Hicks would say this. Cal Weathers would take the lead on lap 379 and lead until lap 395, where Lightning McQueen would take the lead. He would lead for 11 laps before Jimmy Cables would take the lead for himself. He wouldn't lead for long though, because later in lap 406, Phil Tankson would take the lead, leading the field until lap 407, where Jamarcus Cakart would take the lead for himself. He would lead for just 1 lap before Darren Ledfoot would retake the lead. He would lead for 3 laps until lap 410, where James Garrison would take the lead for himself, leading for just 2 laps before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 428. But bad Brad Keselowski would push Lightning McQueen on lap 428, and then he would take the lead, leading the field from lap 428 to lap 435. And then on lap 429, Lightning McQueen would spin out, and then this would lead him to go down 1 lap on lap 429. And then Chick Hicks says this. Kevin Harvick would take the lead on lap 435 and then lead until lap 460, where Cal Weathers would take the lead from him. He would lead for 2 more laps before James Garrison would take the lead once again, leading for just 1 lap off of pit cycles. And then Sebastian Silva would also take the lead during this time. After the pit stops were done, Brick Yardley would take the lead and lead for just 2 laps before Kevin Harvick would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 487, where Darren Ledfoot would take the lead once again and lead the final 13 laps. But Lightning McQueen would get back on the lead lap on the very last lap, and then he would take the lead. Somehow! But Darren Leadfoot would retake the lead on lap 500. And as a result of drafting, Lightning McQueen is now unable to see clearly ahead of him. But Lightning McQueen would somehow retake the lead and go on to win the 2015 LA 500, with Darren Leadfoot finishing second and only losing by 12 feet. Kevin Harvick would finish third, Brad Keselowski fourth, James Garrison fifth, Kyle Carson sixth, Brick Yardley seventh, Matt Kenseth eighth, Cal Weathers ninth, and Phil Tankson rounding out the top 10, and Reb Meeker being the last car to finish on the lead lap this race, finishing 31st. And I already mentioned the top 10. And here you can see it again, as well as the number of points that they got this race. This might be quite an impressive result for some of these cars. And Kurt Busch-Tire would be the one who misses out on the top 10, finishing 11th, followed by Denny Carlin, Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., and Bobby Swift in the top 15. Jamie McCarty would finish 16th with Billy Carjoy, Greg People, Ryan Newcar, The Rocket, and Jamarcus Cakart rounding out the top 20. Casey Corner would finish 21st this race, getting 100 more points, beating Jimmy Cables, Ricky Speedhouse Jr., Sebastian Silva, and Todd Marcus, who all finished in the top 25. Brick Hicks would finish 26th in his final ever race, and Cal Williams would finish 27th in his first season finale. Rex Revler would finish 28th, Arthur Carstro would finish 29th in his first season finale, Pitbull Speed Racer would finish 30th, Reb Meeker finishing 31st, the last car in the lead lap. Chip Gearings, Alex Blowman, Tony Gasswort, and TG Castlenut all finished on the track, but they were one lap down. Joey Logano, the mean yellow red car, was wrecked out on lap 378, making him finish 36th, followed by Maury Clutchburn and Kyle Busch-Tire, all wrecking out. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wrecked out early alongside Eric Carmarola, Jack DePost, Ernie Gearson, and Clint Bowcar. But who won the Piston Cup, you ask? Lightning McQueen is the winner of the 2015 Piston Cup. This means that Lightning McQueen has won 7 Piston Cups in only 11 seasons. Lightning McQueen has tied the King Strip Weathers' previously unbeatable record of winning 7 Piston Cups, and also did it in way fewer seasons. And like in the 2010 Piston Cup season, Kevin Harvick will finish second to Lightning McQueen. Cal Weathers, Brad Keselowski, and Bobby Swift will round out the top 5. Due to Joey Logano's wreck, he falls all the way down to 6th in points. But Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s wreck makes him finish 7th this season. Brick Yardley had a decent season, finishing 8th this season with 2 wins. Phil Tankson and Martin Truex Jr. will round out the top 10, denying Denny Carlin a top 10 finish, finishing 11th, the same as his number. Jimmy Cables would finish 12th this season, the same as last season, same with Carl Edwards, finishing 13th. Kurt Busch-Tire would finish 14th this season, despite missing the first 3 races of the season. James Garrison would have a very good season, finishing 15th in points, and also qualifying for all 36 races. Matt Kenseth would finish just behind James Garrison in 16th, after being unfairly suspended for 2 races. Ryan Newcar, The Rocket, Jamarcus Cakart, Billy Carjoy, and Jamie McCarty would round out the top 20. Casey Corner, Clint Bowcar, and Greg People would all have bad seasons, finishing 21st, 22nd, and 24th respectively. Kyle Carson would finish 23rd this season, 2 places ahead of Kyle Busch-Tire in 25th, even though he missed the first 11 races of the season through suspension, and only those wins that he got this season got him into 25th position. only a handful of points ahead of Todd Marcus in 26th. TG Castlenut also continues his fall-off, finishing 27th this season. Jack DePost, Eric Carmaroa, and Sebastian Silva will round out the top 30. Sebastian Silva actually had a good season this season, going up 10 positions compared with last season, and also beating Rex Revler, Pancake Shift-Right Racing's third best racer, who finishes 31st this season. Murray Clutchburn will finish 32nd this season, the same position as he finished last season. Reb Meeker will finish 33rd, and Chip Gearings will finish 34th this season. But he still qualified for all 36 races like he did last season. Right behind Chip Gearings is Cal Williams in the number 77. And right behind Cal Williams would be Pitbull Speed Racer, who both had much better seasons this season compared with last season. And Doug Throttleman, despite having a season-ending crash, which made him miss the last handful of races this season, he still finishes 37th ahead of Tony Gasworth, who has had an absolutely terrible season this season. How are you a former Piston Cup champion and finish 38th? You also failed to qualify for a few races this season. How has Tony Gasworth gotten this bad at racing? Only finishing a few points ahead of Ernie Gearson, who seems to have an engine failure or get too tired to finish most of the races that he qualifies for. But as he's been racing since 1973, it's still an achievement that he is still qualifying for the majority of races in a Piston Cup season. And rounding out the top 40 is AJ Carmendinger.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Lightning McQueen has won 7 Piston Cups in only 11 seasons. The King Strip Weathers needed over 30 seasons to win his 7 Piston Cups. And Lightning McQueen has also won 91 races in his Piston Cup career. And Lightning McQueen is also not even 40 years old yet, which means that he still has a lot of time left in his Piston Cup career. Next season, in 2016, Lightning McQueen will try to challenge to win an unthinkable 8th Piston Cup. The 2016 Florida 500 video will be coming out soon enough. Unfortunately, the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine is still going on. The Ukrainian people just wanted to live in peace and have freedom, but that common dream was ruined by the tyrant and bully Vladimir Putin, who saw to expand Russia's territory even more. Why would he need to do that? Isn't Russia the biggest country in the world? Currently, Crimea, the Donbass, and parts of the Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, and the Kherson Oblast are under the rule of Vladimir Putin's tyranny. This land totals to around 1/5 of Ukraine's territory. Every day, it gets harder for Ukraine to win against Vladimir Putin's tyranny because of dwindling resources, both in terms of soldiers and equipment. We here at the KA Bullets Piston Cup YouTube channel stand with Ukraine in their struggle against Vladimir Putin's tyranny. Slava Ukraini! Heroyam slava! Nechai Shvitsya daruється, Ukraini перемога! Glory to Ukraine! Glory to the heroes! May Ukraine be granted victory very soon!